May I have a water, please?
Howdy y'all, welcome to the channel. Now, before we start, I already know what you're thinking. Y'all saw the title and thought, but the Hawks are washed. They're mid. On average, they're going to struggle to get past the first round, even if they can make it through the play-in tournament.
What are you talking about?
Okay, granted, all may be true. But I'm here to tell y'all why you shouldn't cover your face just yet, ATL fans. Because the Atlanta Hawks have some of the richest and most underrated histories in the NBA. Fast forward to the mid-2020s, and the Hawks have been rebuilding a team around all-star point guard Trae Young, turning them into a team to watch.
Wow.
And with recent trades involving star center Kristaps Porzingis, the front office is reshaping the roster to better complement their starting five and build a deeper, more versatile team. Whether that means adding draft talent, developing young stars like Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, or shifting toward a faster, more modern play style. Atlanta is investing in its future, and by the end of this video, I'm hoping to show you everything you need to know about the Atlanta Hawks. But in order to do that, we're going to start at the beginning. The very beginning. The Hawks' journey begins not in Georgia, but in the Midwest. Well, technically. Founded as the Buffalo Bisons in 1946, the franchise relocated out of Buffalo after just 13 games into its first season to become the Tri-City Blackhawks based in Moline, Illinois. The Blackhawks were a charter member of the NBA's predecessor, the National Basketball League. However, by 1951, the team would relocate again to Milwaukee to become simply known as the Hawks.
Wow.
But it was their move to St. Louis in 1955 that sparked their first golden era. Led by legendary forward Bob Pettit, whom later became the first official NBA MVP in 1956, back when a jump shot mattered, the Hawks became a powerhouse in the late 1950s. And these really were your granddaddy's Hawks too, reaching 4 NBA Finals and capturing their only championship in 1958. Defeating Bill Russell's Boston Celtics, where Pettit would drop 50, including 18 of the Hawks' final 21 points, propelling them to the championship. Pettit's 50 points set a new finals record for most scored by a player in a series-clinching game, a record that would only be tied 6 decades later by the Greek Freak in 2021. Despite the success on the court, issues off of it, such as attendance and ownership disputes, prompted a move to Atlanta in 1968. The 70s and early Atlanta years featured stars like Lou Hudson, Pistol Pete Maravich, and John Drew, but playoff success was limited.
Oh, fuck.
By the 80s, the team was in transition, looking for a new face to lead into the future. That face would come in 1982, when the Hawks traded for the draft rights to Dominique Wilkins, signaling a new era for Atlanta basketball. Fun fact, the Hawks would actually draft 2 legendary players. They'll trade them both away to the same team, Boston Celtics, before they could ever sport a Hawks jersey. Bob Cousy in 1950 traded over contract disputes. You can say that they couldn't come to an agreement. And Bill Russell in 1956 traded for 2 players and draft picks, where Cliff Hagan, one of the players the Hawks would receive in the trade, would later become the 4th all-time leading scorer in franchise history. So silver linings, right? Alright, so let's talk about one of the most electrifying players in Hawks history. The Dominique Wilkins era for the Atlanta Hawks was defined by explosive scoring, high-flying highlights, and consistent playoff appearances, but also a sense of what could have been. Wilkins, nicknamed the Human Highlight, became the face of the franchise with his electric dunks, elite scoring ability, and fierce competitiveness, all while averaging about 25 points per game during his time with Atlanta and winning an NBA scoring title in 1986. Wilkins would participate in the 1985 and 1990 slam dunk contests, where Wilkins and Jordan would engage in their iconic rivalry in the 1985 slam dunk contest. And between 1985 and 1989, the Hawks were among the league's elite, winning 50-plus games each season, winning the division title in 1987, going 57-25, which would be the franchise record that would last for almost 40 years. More on that in a minute. Under Dominique's leadership, the Hawks were a premier playoff team throughout the late 1980s and early 90s, chalking up consistent 50-plus wins in the regular season in a competitive Eastern Conference. However, the team could not advance past the semifinals of the Eastern Conference playoffs, falling in most occasions to the eventual Eastern Conference and in some years NBA champions in the Boston Celtics and Detroit Pistons. After years of mediocrity, the Hawks would hire Lenny Wilkins as their new head coach in 1983, where the Hawks would go on and win 57 games in the 94 season, tying the franchise record, and finishing third in the East while also claiming their fourth division title. Lenny Wilkins would be named Coach of the Year for his work with the team. Despite the success, though, the team never advanced past the second round of the playoffs, often running into powerhouses like the Celtics, Pistons, Pacers, and later Bulls. Dominique's legendary 1988 playoff duel with Larry Bird remains one of the most iconic moments in NBA postseason history. But the show would come to an end in February of 1994, where the Hawks would trade away the human highlight to the LA Clippers. A move that is notable since the Hawks were still a contention team and at the top of the conference when they decided to trade away their best scorer. And notably, the best scorer in franchise history. It will go down that the Wilkins era is remembered as the golden age of Hawks basketball in the 80s and early 90s, a time when Atlanta had a true superstar to compete with fellow superstars of another era, thrilling fans with nightly highlight reels and giving the franchise national relevance, even if a championship contention always seemed just out of reach.
Oh my God.
Dominique Wilkins would set a standard on the Hawks that would echo for decades, whom, as I've already mentioned, remains the franchise's leading scorer, sitting well over 23,000 points. And in 2015, the Hawks organization unveiled a statue dedicated to Dominique Wilkins, now immortalized outside of State Farm Arena for all future fans. Now it's time to talk about one of the most dominant defensive forces in NBA history. The Dikembe Mutombo era marked one of the last consistently competitive stretches for the Atlanta Hawks before a long rebuilding phase. Acquired in 1996, Mutombo instantly transformed Atlanta's defense, becoming the anchor with his elite shot blocking and rebounding abilities. Under head coach Lenny Wilkins, the Hawks were a playoff regular, winning 50-plus games in back-to-back seasons during the 97 and 1998 seasons, while reaching the Eastern Conference semifinals twice in 1997 and again in 1999. Mutombo would win 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards during this time, in 97 and again in 1998. The Mountains' presence gave the Hawks a clear identity: defense first, physical, and tough in the paint. While the 1997 playoffs would be the last playoffs the Hawks played in the Omni Coliseum, where they would defeat the Detroit Pistons in 5 games of the first round, they would fall in 5 games to the defending champions Chicago Bulls. I mean, it was the 97 Bulls. If you know, you know, but we can talk about them another time. The Hawks would end a 31-win record with a shortened 1998-1999 season. Again, another time. Defeating the Pistons in 5 games, but not being able to advance past the second round, being swept by the New York Knicks. And if this is the same team that I'm thinking about, that itself is a pretty crazy story that I can get into another time. News only got worse as the team lacked a true offensive superstar, and failing to build around Mutombo and Steve Smith only resulted in the front office trading Mutombo away to Philadelphia in 2001. Ending the season with a 25-57 record, some would speculate that this trade marked the beginning of a steep decline for the Hawks.
What are you talking about?
The post-Mutombo years were defined by instability, poor roster decisions, and repeated failures to build a competitive core. The Hawks would cycle through coaches, struggle with draft picks, and lack star power.
Oh God!
By 2005, the Hawks were one of the worst teams in the league, undergoing what every fan dreads to hear: a full rebuild. In essence, the Mutombo era was the last gasp of Hawks' defensive excellence and playoff relevance, while the post-era became a cautionary tale of roster mismanagement and franchise identity loss.
Oh God.
That is, until the Joe Johnson-led resurgence later in the 2000s. Now, another fun fact is that in 2001, the Hawks would actually draft star forward Pau Gasol 3rd overall, but traded him to the Memphis Grizzlies for power forward Shahif Abdul-Rahim, who would become the team's leading scorer the following season while grabbing an All-Star appearance in 2002.
Wow.
So again, silver linings for the Hawks. Alright, so now let's go back and let's talk about Mr. Underrated.
What do you?
Yes, underrated. The Joe Johnson era marked the rebirth of the Atlanta Hawks from a lottery-bound franchise into a premier playoff contender. Acquired in the bold sign-and-trade deal with the Phoenix Suns in the summer of 2005, where Joe Johnson almost instantly became the face of the franchise. A 6-time All-Star during his time with Atlanta, known for his smooth scoring, clutch shot-making, and ISO-heavy play style that earned him the name ISO Joe. Hope appeared over the horizon for the Hawks, where in the 2007 draft and with the 3rd overall pick, Hawks would select Al Horford of the Florida Gators. Horford would almost average a double-double during his rookie season and was the only unanimous selection to the all-rookie first team, while being a runner-up for Rookie of the Year honor. The Hawks would continue to roll as they would complete a midseason trade, acquiring Mike Bibby, keeping playoff hopes alive. And at the time, the Hawks were 22-28. Afterwards, they would go off to finish with a 37-45 record. While, although a losing record, it did manage to get them into the playoffs for the first time since 1999.
Yeah, boy.
In the playoffs, the Hawks showed improvement, pushing the Boston Celtics to a Game 7 before losing in Boston. And I mean, it's not bad for a midseason turnaround.
Wow.
The 2009 season saw the Hawks secure a 47-35 record with an almost intact lineup from the previous year. And it looked like the Hawks managed to take a step forward with their development. A memorable year, as the Hawks wouldn't only secure their first winning season in about a decade, they would also go on to secure their first playoff series win since 1999 as well, pushing the Game 7 against the Miami Heat in the first round, but capitalizing on home court advantage.
Yay!
Even if the Hawks will go on to be swept by LeBron James and the Cavs in the conference semifinals. The 2010 season would show improvement for the Hawks, going 53-30, their first 50-plus win season since the 98 season.
Wow.
Al Horford would earn his first All-Star selection alongside Joe Johnson, marking the first time since 1998 that the Hawks would send 2 players to the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Hawks would, in a way, reprise their playoff run from the previous year. A hard-fought 7-game series against the Milwaukee Bucks, but they would be swept by the Orlando Magic in the second round, with every game noted as being one-sided contest.
Oh, fuck.
Completing the 2012 season with 40 wins, this clinched the Hawks a playoff seed for the 5th straight season. However, the Hawks would fall in 6 games to the Celtics, ending their 3-year streak of advancing to the second round. And yes, 3 is a streak. Anyways, in short, under Joe Johnson's leadership, and alongside key teammates like Josh Smith, Al Horford, and Mike Bibby, the Hawks went from a 13-win team in 2005 to 5 straight playoff appearances between 2008 and 2012, including a trip to the Eastern Conference semifinals 3 years in a row. They were consistently solid, but never quite broke through the elite status, often falling to teams like the Celtics,
Wow.
Magic, or Bulls.
Oh, God.
In 2012, ISO Joe was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, signaling the end of that core era. The post-Johnson year, the 2012-2013 year, was a transition period. The Hawks would still make the playoffs, but begin reshaping their identity under new GM Danny Ferry, putting together the pieces that would kickstart the Spurs East style of play during the Mike Budenholzer era. And in my opinion, the Joe Johnson era revived the Hawks from irrelevance, bringing them consistent respectability and playoff appearances, proclaiming that Atlanta was not going to go away easily. While the Hawks never reached the NBA's upper echelon, that period laid the groundwork for Atlanta's modern era resurgence. Cool. Now that we made it here, let's talk about the man with the plan and the team with the dream. For the Hawks, the Mike Budenholzer era was a period of smart team basketball, strong fundamentals, and a historic peak, even if it didn't result in a championship.
Oh my God.
In May 2013, the Hawks would hire Spurs assistant coach Mike Budenholzer as the team's new head coach. Coach Bud, who came from the San Antonio Spurs coaching tree, brought a system that emphasized ball movement, teamwork, and unselfish play. The Hawks would finish the 2013 season with a 38-44 record, their first losing season since 2008. But ever resilient, the Hawks wouldn't go down without a fight, taking the top-seeded Pacers all the way before a final Game 7 loss. And in honesty, the expectations weren't high for the following year. But Coach Bud's most iconic season with the Hawks came in 2015 when they'd not only set a new season record, winning 60 games, but also earning the number 1 seed in the East and sending 4 players to the All-Star game in Jeff Teague, Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver, and Al Horford.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm serious. These nerds and Paul Millsap made the All-Star team. 4 Hawks filled out a third of the 2015 All-Star team. Do you know who the starters were for the All-Star team?
Huh?
These guys. The Hawks would go on to clinch their first division title in over 2 decades, while also becoming the first team not based in Florida to win the NBA's Southeast Division.
Yeah,
A
boy.
week later, after a win over Miami, the Hawks would clinch the top seed in the Eastern Conference, finishing with the franchise best 60-win season, ending with a better record than that year's Cavs, Bulls, Rockets, Clippers, basically any team that didn't have Stephen Curry. Yeah, they were that team. Rolling into the playoffs, defeating the Brooklyn Nets in 6 games, boom, advancing and facing the Washington Wizards, also defeating them in 6 games, boom, meaning that for the first time since 1967, the Hawks would advance to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they were swept by LeBron James and the Cavaliers, but it marked the franchise's best season in decades. Coach Bud's time in Atlanta was defined by player development, regular season success, and a culture shift, but also by the limitations of not having a dominant go-to player in the playoffs. Mike Budenholzer would win Coach of the Year in 2015, but the team would slowly decline due to roster changes and injuries. Coach Bud and the Hawks parted ways in 2018 as the franchise began, once again, what every fan dreads to hear, a full rebuild. In short, Coach Bud brought together a high IQ, team-first era that brought respect and regular season success to the Atlanta Hawks, even if it ultimately failed to deliver the title.
Oh my God.
All right, take a bow, ladies and gentlemen. We are almost done. But with that, I think it's time to talk about a proper villain. Trae Young became the face of the Atlanta Hawks when he was drafted in 2018. Born in Texas, but drafted out of OU, Trae Young is not your granddaddy's point guard. A flashy, high-scoring player known for deep threes, bold passes, and fearless play, often compared to his peers and fellow point guards, but has shown to be steering his own course in the league.
Wow.
Now you may ask, how did the one-winged Hawks land such a gem of a playmaker? Well, that story is a lot less complicated. They completely lucked out. Back in the 2018 draft, the Hawks would actually select the Wonderlad himself, Luka Doncic, with the 3rd overall pick, but immediately trade him to the Dallas Mavericks for a protected 2019 first-round pick and the draft rights to that year's 5th overall pick. The sooner that would become Mr. Right Now, Trae Young. In 2020, Trae Young would be selected to his first All-Star game, being voted as a starter, meaning that he was the first Hawks player to start an All-Star game since the Mountain himself back in 1998.
Wow.
While they haven't been title contenders every year,
Sure, I think it's.
I'd say the young kid has given the Atlanta Hawks new life. In 2021, Young would lead the team to the Eastern Conference Finals, shocking the NBA world and on the path to becoming a rising superstar. In their 2021 playoff run, the Hawks would defeat the 4th-seeded New York Knicks before upsetting the top-seeded Philadelphia 76ers to reach the ECFs, marking only the 2nd time in the last 54 years that the team would even advance past the semifinals. Ironically though, They'd fought a Budenholzer's
fuck.
Bucks in 6 games after Trae Young was injured stepping on an official's foot in Game 3. The Bucks would go on to win the 2021 championship. But Trae Young's cadence, confidence, and playmaking made Atlanta basketball exciting again, even if the team has struggled with consistency since then. While the Atlanta Hawks would finish the 2024 season with a 36-46 record,
Wow.
they'd fall short to the Chicago Bulls in the play-in tournament, just missing the playoffs. The 2024 draft lottery saw the Hawks receive the first overall pick, where the Hawks would select guard Zachary Reisesher from France.
Nice.
The Hawks would go on to finish the 2025 season with a 40-42 record, losing to the Miami Heat in overtime during the play-in tournament, causing them to miss the playoffs. However, just before the 2025 draft, the Hawks would acquire Kristaps Porzingis in a 3-team deal between the Hawks, Celtics, and Nets. In short, the Trae Young era has brought hope, highlights, and a big playoff run that reminds fans what the Hawks could become. So, Hawks fans, you may be asking me, how does the future look for them? This offseason makes me believe that the Hawks, with the dynamic shooting from Young and Daniels, along with their new additions, could lead the team to another playoff run in an already stacked Eastern Conference. According to the ESPN Power Rankings and playoff odds, as of this recording, the Hawks are sitting slap in the middle at rank number 15. So not much is going to be expected of them, especially after last season's play-in loss to the rivals, the Orlando Magic. Yet, they do have the ability to run under everyone's radar. But truly, only time will tell when the Hawks will return to the playoffs, let alone raise the lariat of success. And with the rising competition in the Eastern Conference, the Hawks have much to overcome. But I believe that after these offseason moves, the Hawks are taking leaps in the right direction towards elite contention once again. So why does it matter? Because you're watching a franchise at their turning point. The Hawks have heart, history, and poised for a new identity with a mix of an underdog spirit and southern grit with a flash. Plus, let's be honest, it's more fun to cheer for a team that's on the rise rather than one that's already peaked. And the Atlanta Hawks are writing their next chapter.
Nice.
So next time you're passing by the Big Peach, for either the helicopter rides or the ghost tours, why don't you stop by a Hawks game, snap a pic with Harry the Hawk, and enjoy the synergy of that good old southern comfort that you've been missing in your life. But that's just what I think I know. Who should we spotlight next? Hawks fans, how did I do? Who did I miss? Who's the greatest Hawk of all time? Yell at me down in the comments below. And to my new friends, if you enjoyed this deep dive and want to see more, make sure you like, subscribe, and drop the name of your favorite team in the comments. And I'd greatly appreciate you. Alright, until next time, y'all be safe, alright?